got two big bosses here that are female on this podcast. That is brilliant.
No, what has happened to this conversation?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I was waiting.
Would I want a family member, somebody that I love dearly, to to take that? Statistically proven that when you go for a job, women are more likely to tick off.
Was it something more you felt you had to do or you wanted to do?
Probably more I felt I had to do. I don't know whether I'd use the word hate, but there's a bit of dislike.
Can't comprehend my boy doing that. My boy's 16 in 3 months, and the comprehension of him.
That's what we do it for. Yeah, exactly. That's what we do it for, to really help people.
Welcome back to the Mortgage Mingle Podcast, the podcast made by mortgage professionals for mortgage professionals. Today, we're excited to have a fabulous guest with us, Charlotte Harrison, CEO of Home Finance at Skipton Building Society. Throughout her career, Charlotte has been recognised for her strategic thinking, innovative approaches to product development, and her ability to navigate market challenges. She's also contributed to discussions on future trends in the mortgage industry, focusing on agility, customer-centric solutions, and the role of leadership in driving market innovation. Join us as we dive into her inspiring career, her leadership philosophy, and what she believes the future holds for the mortgage market. Charlotte Harrison, CEO. Is it Skipton Home Finance? Is that the long form on your business card?
Yeah, it can be.
Welcome.
Dog's body, really. But...
hardly. So of course we do copious research for these things, and looking at your LinkedIn profile. So you started at HML back in 2012.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
2012.
Was it 2012? Well, that's what it said on LinkedIn. I could be wrong. I might have read it wrong.
Was that about copious research you just said?
I remember, HML was pretty much the major servicer, wasn't it, for
yes.
lenders?
Well, I remember, so my LinkedIn obviously needs a bit of updating. I joined HML in 2007. I was very excited because I thought, this is amazing. I've joined a company, and the first thing I got to do was go to the Diamond Ball. And then it all went wrong, didn't it? And true life began. But yes, it was, major outsourcer.
The trouble with the credit crunch, or prior to the credit crunch, those of us that were in the industry for a while before then thought it was just going to carry on like that forever.
Yeah.
And that's how we lived.
That's how naive we were.
Yeah, I know.
I got a glimmer and it snapped straight away. Never mind about that.
Yeah. I know. See, but then you had, because I was at SPML and we used HML to service our loans. So you had all those loans to service and look after.
Yeah, Mortgage Express and Mortgage Express use HML as well.
Yeah, Mortgage Express. Oh, there were, many.
Yeah.
But
The colour's now draining away from Charlotte's face, and she's starting to shake a little bit.
Don't take me back to those times.
My understanding is, and again, tell me if I'm wrong, but you were promoted to CEO early last year.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So the bit in between then, the abridged version, because I know we're short of time, but I think it's important to sort of go through. You've stayed with one organisation for a long time, so obviously incredibly loyal.
Yeah.
They clearly. Or you feel that they look after you, otherwise you wouldn't be there. So talk to us about your journey.
So I did start out, I will give you a whistle-stop tour, but we started out straight after school. Didn't go to uni. I needed the money to pay rent, as lots of us do. And thought, what can I do? Went and worked in the most exciting department, which was looking after everybody's title deeds. Then bounced around. I did have to help out on the collections call lines at the end of the month to try and ring up and chase money for everybody. And then I kind of had a bit of a route into finance. So I went into an operational financial control place, and then really thought, I actually probably do need to do something from a career perspective. What am I going to do? Because there's been no plan. And it feels like a few years have passed on. I need to do something. And so HML and then subsequently Skipton were really good in terms of supporting me because they put me through my accountancy qualifications. So I went into the more kind of commercial finance roles, studied on a weekend. The Skipton train to Leeds was the bane of my life at every single stop, thinking it's just slowly sucking my soul away, but did persevere. And then moved across to the Society in 2015. So came across as a finance business partner, saw the commercial guys having what felt like all the fun and decided I wanted to join the products team. Did that, went off and had a baby. So 2010, when everybody else was wondering how on earth we're going to do remote working with looking after children at home and what on earth's going on, I was just kind of sat there with a 6-week-old thinking, well, okay, what do I do with this? And then when I came back from maternity leave, my boss, and I choose to believe this was not from me, but I think it was a few weeks in, said, oh, I'm leaving. It was definitely not my return that prompted that, I'm sure of it. So I thought I'll try and have a go at that. So got the products role. And I thought he's had a really easy ride because interest rates have been pretty stable whilst he's been looking after the team. And all of a sudden they started to skyrocket. And then, the rest is history, really. Stuart joined the group in January and said, nobody says building society to me when they walk into one of our branches. They either want us to lend them some money and buy a house, or they want us to help them with their money and their wealth. So that's how we're structuring the business. And asked me to look after homes for the foreseeable. So, yes.
Yeah. So you're the head honcho looking after all the mortgage stuff?
I am, yes. Yes,
right,
for my sins.
Okay. So brokers on here, you have to be very, very nice to Charlotte.
We're always nice to everyone.
The trouble is that they know Paul Fenn really well as well, so that they know where the skeletons are. It's fine.
You can be a bit meaner to me. That's fine.
I think I saw one of your videos and I thought, blimey, you do that really well. Have you had sort of any media training or anything like that?
If you count, probably like 2 hours in a room in London somewhere with somebody just shouting a few questions at you and seeing what happens. But really well, I'm not sure about that. I think you just
you're very natural.
Go with the flow.
Natural.
Yeah,
how do you find that media training? Do they do it in a way as if it's sort of like crisis management, and they try and get you to say something wrong? Yeah.
I think the first attempt of, right, I'm going to pretend to be somebody interviewing you on the phone. And this is ages ago. So when did I do that? I think it's when I got the head of products role, 2021. I remember saying, time out, stop. I don't know where to go from here. I've reversed into a cul-de-sac and I really can't get back out. So please stop.
They really push you, don't they?
Really, it's good fun though. Yeah. It's good fun. But yeah, it's the first attempt was cataclysmic, I'd say. You definitely wouldn't have wanted me anywhere in the external environment.
It's like Monty's appearance on that Martin Lewis thing. Cataclysmic. No, I'm joking.
My first one was cataclysmic. My first one on BBC.
No, it wasn't. It was great.
One on BBC years and years ago was shocking. Beyond shocking.
I remember that. Going back to 2007, I remember sort of seeing people I work with or friends with, like on the national news.
Yes, Panorama.
I was like, oh no, not that one going down as well. Sitting there eating your dinner. Oh dear. Anyway, I think the Skipton's been going since like 1800 and something. So incredibly strong. A strong institution. Can you say how much lending you do on sort of resi lending you do on an annual basis, or is that like a closely guarded secret?
No, I don't think so. I'll tell you, and then we'll find out if I get in trouble, won't we? We do. So it's all published in our accounts. I think we do kind of like between 5.5, 6.5 billion in kind of new lending. Certainly from our side on an annual basis. We've been growing really strongly over the past few years, so we've had double-digit growth. For a number of years, which is, it's good. We're in a good position.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, do you want to ask a question then, Lee? Let's start with your list, because I know you're champing at the bit.
A little. I mean, I've been massively encouraged, as a lot of brokers have, about the growth of first-time buyers in the industry and how big it is right now. So our kind of sector areas we look at around London, I think about 48% of the market looking I think it's a whole year. 48% of it has been first-time buyers. And that plays quite well with a lot of the things that you're doing at the moment with your track record mortgage. You've just renamed your joint borrower sole proprietor income booster or something as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Just trying to really push that market. So that's obviously I was going to say where you see the green shoots are. There's plenty of green shoots behind you where you are at the moment. That's signifying loads going on there. That's just the economy right behind you there, isn't it? Is that what you see?
I thought she was working for Standard Chartered Bank in London for a minute.
Is that where you see the sector of growth and the opportunity for growth right now, after the first-time buyers?
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. I think goes back to our founding purpose. I mean, we're focused on first-time buyers because we want to help more people into homes. So all of our kind of product innovation is probably more geared towards that end of the market. They've had a really hard time, haven't they, in terms of people trying to get onto the housing ladder, affordability stretch, deposit stretch, house prices. I think it doesn't have to be just in first-time buyer, but I do think we need to create a really well-functioning housing market, and therefore you need kind of contributors at each stage of that. So, for Skipton, we want to try and push more people onto that kind of first rung. You need to move people throughout. You need to look after them throughout the lifetime of the mortgages. But we know that people tend to stay in houses a bit longer nowadays, don't they? I mean, people used to move, every kind of 3 to 4 years. It's more like every, 8 to 10 years. So that's where we, I think there is more opportunity to be had. And I also think if you can try and create some form of solution that's not there, you're opening up a new market, aren't you, almost? So you've got a different customer segment, different opportunities. And that's what we saw with Track Record. And I've, chatted about this before, which is you launch something out there that people, so therefore that was, having a deposit, that's a barrier to entry. Okay, that's no longer a barrier to entry. That might not be the solution for the customer because they might have had a bit of something, but it does create awareness and it drives a bit of activity into the market and engagement. So,
has it been as popular as you'd hoped? Has it had as much traction as you'd expected?
Yeah, I think so. There's probably two lenses to that. Has it been as successful in terms of, I wish we could be doing more and saying yes to more people. So I think from an interest rate environment that we're in, you had mortgage rates had rocketed. And one of the key principles for us is you need to have demonstrated that your rent matched your mortgage payments. And we saw this kind of juxtaposition where, it's not been like that for decades, has it? But rents all of a sudden started to overtake a bit. So there's a bit of timing on that. And therefore I'd like us to do more. But we've helped a lot of people. In terms of the launch and the awareness and also the reception that we got from, media and coverage, that I could never have predicted that. That absolutely blew me away. And it blew me away in terms of the sheer amount of coverage. I mean, it went global. People were talking it all over. We were second highest trend on Twitter.
Who was that?
I think it was
how did you guys feel when that happened? Were you elated or were you like, perhaps we've gone a bit too far on that?
Oh no, I was elated. No, I think everyone was elated, and we were elated because not only did we get the kind of coverage that you saw in the market in terms of it just went blew up, but I think all of the coverage was either positive or kind of some form of neutral balance. So we didn't really see anybody going out. And bearing in mind, everything when you think about your risk committees and people saying, we're definitely pressing go on this. We just talked earlier, didn't we, about the bad old days and the crash. That's still in people's minds of, do you really want to do 100% lending? Are you sure? And so the fact that when the coverage that landed was actually really, really well balanced and actually probably skewed more towards the positive. To me, that was phenomenal because we got mass interest and appetite, and it was really, really well received. So,
it was really interesting.
Because we had these products years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mons, go on, mate.
No, I was just going to say it was really interesting that, Charlotte, because I spoke to your press team I think the day before it launched, and I was saying to them, are you ready? Are you ready for the bad press? Are you ready for, because it's a great idea and a great product, but are you ready? Because some journalists
they were all asking me,
so,
Charlotte, are you ready?
And actually, you're right. It didn't really transpire that way, did it? Which was quite interesting, which shows that the market was definitely ready for something like that again.
And I think that what's kind of, I think what was helpful is we'd been really, really thoughtful about that because we could have launched something that in theory, we'd put some controls around it, but you could unwind quickly if you hadn't really thought about it. But when people are asking about, what about negative equity? Oh, what about it? What about? Well, no, we stress test. We've thought about, what the house price looks like. That's what, there was control upon control, which is why really, we want to then always refine that and say, well, we can expand a bit or we can do something else because we've learned. But it was easy to kind of knock those back.
Yeah. So how much sort of previous research, how much work do you do before you make that decision to be bold and launch?
So I think we went through multiple iterations of our retail credit committee, board risk committee, board back down, and less about actually, because the research we didn't really need to do in terms of research from the consumer lens and customer. People have been asking for this for years, haven't they? It's been all over social media. I can pay rent, but no one will give me a mortgage. I mean, it was clear that it was there. And then we looked at some, you look out, there's stats everywhere, 3.6 million resentful renters in the UK, 45% of them, never think they're ever going to get anywhere. So almost that research was all kind of packaged almost to some degree already, which is we know there's demand there. We tested it with brokers. So, what do you think about this? I'm sure some of you remember. But, how would you be able to sell this? What would you get comfortable? Almost like, how would you get comfortable selling this? So we can try and start tailoring it in, what that entails. And then a lot of it was getting ourselves comfortable, which is, have we got the right level of risk controls? Have we got, are we making sure we're protecting us as a lender, but also we don't want customers turning around in, 3 years' time saying, why on earth did you let me do this? It's completely the wrong thing for me.
It was nice when it was launched, actually, because, all of us brokers were having a tough time when it was coming out. And it was nice to have a product like that kind of gave a bit of hope back to brokers to think, hang on a minute, I think we've got something here that could cure the problem. We had a product very similar to that years and years ago where underwriting was based on rental, and it worked. It worked back then. I would argue it worked. And it was nice to have that hope when it came back. So irrespective to how well it did and how much business you did on it, it certainly gave brokers hope that lenders are looking at trying to bring something back to the industry to try and help the crisis we were in. That for us was great, but I'm not sure how much, whether we did that much on it or not, I don't think was really important. It was just to have that glimmer of hope that we needed right then.
It also, Lee, sent a message, didn't it?
Confidence.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, just before we go on, Charlotte, did you expect other lenders to come in and try a similar product?
Yes.
You did.
I thought we'd see more. Yeah, I did. I was maybe not from necessarily some of the really big lenders, but I thought we'd see more of the smaller lenders maybe do something similar or kind of test and put, toes in the water, especially once someone's gone first and you kind of put the head above the parapet and it's been okay. We might do. I mean, everybody's got to spend the capital in the ways that works for them as a business. So, it's what's right for them as well in terms of, capital consumption and how they can make that work.
So why do you think you guys have been able to be that much more innovative than some of those other lenders?
I think lenders are innovating. So I'm not going to do others down because I do think that
very professionally done. That's the media training.
That's spot on, isn't it? Yeah, love that, Charlotte. Carry on.
And do you know what? Any innovation is good, isn't it? So, all right, track record was really good because it gave a bit of hope. It hit headlines in like a mass market way. That was great for us from a branding perspective, undoubtedly, but also it was amazing because it did create awareness that there might be a route for me. But any kind of innovation is helpful because it always gives another tool or another route to market. So, you know what? Other lenders might be sat there thinking, well, Skipton's done that, so we're not going to bother because we're going to try something else. And we'll try and create a different route and something else. Do
you think it's boosted your confidence to innovate further?
Well, it's given me a challenge because it's like, what's next? When you're looking around the table now and you're saying, I'm not sure I can deliver that again. I don't know whether that's certainly once in a career for me, as to can we get the same kind of impact into the organisation again and into the market. But yeah, I mean, we're always trying to look at, ways that you can help. I think that's one of the things as to why we like our jobs, which is, there's an opportunity to think, especially for our size, you can be nimble and you can think about testing, and, we're just absolute customer focused in terms of how do we create solutions that are going to make a difference. And some of them, get great reception. Sometimes it's like, no, that's not quite landed. You need to do something different. So
is there like a set of principles, values that help guide you either personally or at Skipton in making those decisions?
Our absolute mission. So in terms of guiding principles, we want to help people. So as a purpose lenders mutual, we want to help people onto the property ladder. It resonates very strongly with me. I think I've spoken before actually in terms of, unless we start taking action and we start to accelerate people and supporting them, the disparity between haves and have-nots just grows. So that kind of, certainly in UK housing, access to housing and owning your own home can breed future generational wealth, and then you get wealth transfer. In fact, I was only listening to some videos yesterday of people talking about the challenges getting onto the property ladder and what their worries are and fears, and then so you can see that divide, and that can just grow. So what kind of motivates me, and I think a lot of people that I work with and a lot of people in the industry, is you want to close the divide between those haves and have-nots. And I think housing is a fundamental part of that. In terms of then how do we innovate and how do we think about what's going to make a difference and what is good lending, this isn't just in my mind. I always just think, would I sell it to my sister or would I sell it to my mother? Would I want a family member, somebody that I love dearly, to take that or be put in a position? And if the answer's no, then it's not good enough. But if it is, then carry on with it. But and I think that's just with anything in terms of what you're wanting to do.
Okay. So if you weren't leading the home finance division at Skipton, what would you be doing?
Could I say I'd just be relaxing on the beach somewhere? No?
That's a good answer.
What would I be doing? I definitely shouldn't be doing this. Many years ago, when I was younger, I had fanciful dreams that I thought I could be a singer. But
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I was waiting as you were saying that.
Right, we've got you lined up for the next Mortgage
Force. You have said that to the wrong audience. You are now going to officially be singing.
There's a reason that wasn't my career path. So that's all I'll say. There's a reason.
Now,
I'm sure you're a better singer than Jeremy Duncan, and he's got a gold disc. So,
yes, he has.
Were you in a band? Did you do some stuff at school and then go to theatre
school? You opened this box, Charlotte. You're not getting out of this one. No.
Shove it back in. I was an absolute music goon at school, so I think I was in every. I'm just making it worse for myself, aren't I? This is just. I'll never be able to show my face, but I played the piano, I sang, I was in the orchestra, played the flute. I was an absolute music goon.
Do you still play?
Although I was chatting to somebody actually the other day. We just renovated our house, and I haven't really played the piano since my daughter was born, because, she took up all the time, and then you can't play because you wake her up, or if you're playing and, she's awake, then she wants to be on with you. And then when we renovated our house, we got rid of the piano. So that's next on the list in terms of only for me and only for my own relaxation, not for public consumption by any means.
So you say that.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Gone are the days where I think it's, acceptable to try and sing and play at somebody's wedding. Absolutely not. No anymore.
Like I say, it won't be a wedding, but it might be a mortgage deal.
So, Paul, you're right. What I heard there was I'm a musical virtuoso, and I'm definitely going to be performing.
Available. I'm
available for mortgage events coming soon.
Jeremy, doing anything at the Strategy Awards next year?
I think we are now.
When we had Jeremy on, he had that golden disc behind him, didn't he, for singing as well? I mean, everyone's coming out now.
He did. So Charlotte, we're not going to talk about mortgages now, I've decided. What do you have a favourite singer or type of music you like to sing?
Oh, no. know what has happened to this conversation. It's gone very badly downhill.
The acoustics are good in
We
your
will get
room
back
as
to
well.
mortgages in a minute, but this is
much more
This is
interesting.
important. Do I have? No, I'm quite eclectic. I don't want to say what I like. There's a variety. I don't mind a bit of.
You've got Oasis tickets, haven't you?
Oh no, I'm not that cool.
Okay.
No.
Are you a Whitney, Celine?
A bit of Whitney. I like a bit of, Phil Collins, Easy Lover.
Right. Are you old enough for Phil Collins?
Not old enough.
You see, this just reminds many years ago. Phil Collins reminds me of weekends in our get this, Dad of the Year. Our family car. We are a family of 5, and we used to drive up.
You growing up?
This is me growing up.
Yeah,
I was the youngest one. 6 years between me and my sister, and 8 between me and my brother. And we used to drive up to like the lakes or somewhere on a weekend. Dad has Easy Lover blasting out, or a bit of Genesis or whatever.
Fantastic.
And our family car, for a family of 5, was a Porsche. So I used to have to sit. Yes, obviously. Please don't arrest him. I used to have to sit on the hump in the back with a cushion under my bottom, and then we used to strap our seatbelts either side. So yeah, those are my fond memories of
singing Easy Lover.
Poor singing.
Yeah, singing Easy Lover in your working class upbringing.
Everything a 6-year-old.
Brilliant.
If you'd like to do a rendition now for us, Charlotte, please go ahead.
No.
If you were going to sit down at a piano, right, and sing anything, I mean, what would be the song?
Oh,
Charlotte, be very careful, because they're now roping you into doing a performance.
It would be Adagio in F major. There we go. That will.
Ooh.
No singing. No singing.
No words.
The karaoke version.
Louisa. Pay her later.
Yeah.
I saw that at the Albert Hall. That's very good. Okay, all right. Well, we'll move away, but we will park that for now. But we will be coming back to you. We will. You are going to judges' houses. So, yeah, brilliant. Okay, so actually, could you do "I Have Nothing"?
No.
Oh, okay. I just, might be,
but a very good choice.
Sarah, the mortgage mum, now has, somebody else that can sing with her. It's great. Okay, sorry, we'll move on. Okay, so a woman in a senior leadership role in a man's world. It's not so much a man's world anymore, is it? In the mortgage industry, we still sort of harp on about it, but I see more and more women in leadership roles. But right, Louisa, come on, tell me what I need to know.
I very recently inherited an office. I've never had an office before, and because I've never wanted one, so my office now has a big table, a conference table in it. It has 8 leather chairs, black leather chairs, and it has a black sofa.
Beautiful.
And it has a big desk. And everybody that walks in just says, wow, this is very masculine, because I've inherited it from 2 very masculine people who've been in that masculine role. And I didn't even notice it until such time as people have been coming in and going, this looks incredibly masculine. So
get some colour out.
Yeah. Does it have one of those?
I'm going to get some.
Does it have one of those globes that you open? It's got like whiskey and.
We've got 2 big bosses here that are female on this podcast. That is brilliant. It's amazing. I feel unworthy.
Is phenomenal. It is absolutely superb. I don't think there's still not enough of us in the industry, and there's a variety of different reasons as to why that's the case. I think. Historically, there weren't many of us because there wasn't a place for us. I think there is absolutely a place for us now. So it's a much better environment.
What do you mean there wasn't a place for you?
So it just wasn't expected nor accepted. So, you didn't really have a voice. And those that did have a voice were either deemed to be aggressive or manly, or, it just was like you were there for all the wrong reasons. So, or you've been gifted a role because you were making up the numbers. And I don't think that is absolutely not the case. It certainly isn't here at Paragon, but I don't think it is in the industry anymore. But I think as females, we need to acknowledge and accept that, and actually, take up some of these roles, or put ourselves forward for some of these roles, because we are very capable, as you guys know. But I just think that the roles are there and they're available for us to apply for, but I don't think we necessarily have the degree of confidence to put ourselves forward for.
And do you think that's what it is these days? Do you think it's more of a self-confidence in you as a woman that is holding you back, or do you still feel there's a man's club, an old boys club?
I think there's still an element of the old boys club, but I think they're more accepting of us females. I do genuinely think that we don't necessarily have the confidence to put ourselves forward. And, I sit here in this wonderful office with all my black leather chairs, and that is very full of black leather chairs.
Thanks for taking the Pirelli calendar off the wall for us.
But, you pinch yourself and think, wow, how did I get here? And at some point, is somebody going to tap me on the shoulder and say, there you go, lovely lady, it's time to either clean up or leave, whichever it might be. So there's still that element of self-doubt. And, the imposter syndrome. And most of my female colleagues, when I speak to them, say the same thing. So, within the industry, there's some of the senior ladies in the industry who still have that same fear.
I think it's really important to understand your journey as well, Charlotte, in terms of did you experience imposter syndrome? And if you did, how did you overcome that to get, to your position now?
I don't think you ever do. So I think, so it's proven statistically that, and this, by the way, men do experience imposter syndrome as well.
I was going to say that. A lot of everybody. But we do.
Yeah, everybody can feel nervous. I think and also there's a nervousness, and then there's a debilitating effect of that as well. And there's a difference between it. But it's statistically proven that when you go for a job, women are more likely to tick off, can I do everything? If I can do 100%, I'm worthy of applying. Whereas males typically, not all the time, will think I can do 80% of it, so I'm fine. And you know what? I've had
that much?
Well, let's be kind. But I've had that even recently. Somebody did the exact same thing. I was like, oh my God, you're doing it. But I mean, and also there's a lot of pressure. So do you want to have this happened to me actually. I was trying to apply for a different role, and my leader at the time said to me, are you sure you want to apply? Because I thought you just got married, and I thought you wanted to try and have a baby. Yeah.
No, that's so wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. And what's worse, that was from a female.
Do you know what? I was just about to ask that question. And females should be obviously advocates for each other. But so many times I do hear from people that some of the harshest people on other females are other females. Why is that?
Just because we're ferocious, I don't know, but those are the things. It's challenging. Like, so I come to work, and I've got, like I've said, I've got a 4-year-old. You feel guilty that I've gone to work before she's got up, and sometimes I come home from work and she's gone to bed, and you're thinking, it's not the best feeling. You're torn all the time. And then I also think that when you said about is it still man's club or not, but sometimes it's hard to fit into a different environment. So if I sit there and think, how am I Charlotte in, what has historically been a very male dominated industry? Well, when I come into a room and start trying to, ingratiate myself with people, sorry, might surprise you, I'm not that interested in golf or football or sport, and actually you're already at a back foot because a lot of other, and that's not to say everybody is, but trying to find a way in to say, how can I be relevant and kind of strike up a conversation and create a bond and a relationship where we're kind of like-minded, it becomes challenging because you're on the periphery. So, that can almost set you back even trying to think about, right, got to try and get my head in that before I actually just think I'm just going to come and talk about my job. So, I think there are challenges, but...
That's really interesting. And, again, as an ignorant male, never really thought about it from that point of view. So the question to you both, if you're looking to make rapport, what would you think about talking about with a bloke, with a man?
Louisa was going to say...
In a business environment.
Family. So, you can talk and you can share experiences about families that you might have. Because you'll have similar experiences, whether you're male or female. If you've got a family, they might have a pet But again, because I think if you haven't got a family, the chances are you've probably got a pet. I don't have a pet because I have a daughter, and so I think that you can
have both.
You can have both. That's absolutely fine. Well, now she's gone to university, I may well do that. But you can find things in common irrespective of it. It doesn't have to be, as Charlotte says, football or golf. I don't mind listening to football because actually you just learn bits and pieces of things and people's behaviour, and I don't mind that. If somebody starts to talk to me about golf, the chances are I will either fall asleep immediately or I'll leave the room because I just find it is
same.
So dull. Sorry, Lee, I know that you enjoy golf, but it is, for me, it's just...
Monty plays as well. Well, he sends us photos that he plays. I'm not sure.
I find that really...
So I think you can.
Yeah, I find that really interesting because actually a man's... Which maybe is why sometimes I have deeper relationships quicker with a female, because my default as a man is, if I'm not very good at conversation, is, well, let's just talk about football or let's talk about golf. And actually, I can talk about football for hours without actually knowing anything about the man I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm talking to you or someone else, actually, you're right, we tend to talk about more personal things, family, life, etc. That's quite an interesting point. Yeah. But I think you get better relationships in that way.
You do.
And it's only after being with a bloke. So if I've been with Lee for ages and now we don't have to talk about football because we know each other well enough that we don't need to talk about football. So yes, we do now and then.
I am aware as well. That's a big stereotyping, by the way, that I've just done. I am, aware, but it is an example. It is a big stereotype, but it's a reality as well quite often.
I'm just saying that sometimes talking about football is a man's insecurity of actually,
that's a good point.
I can't talk about anything else. Oh shit, I've got to default to football.
So next time, Monty, I will ask you about your puppies.
There's so many answers to that. I don't have puppies. If you're saying that I've put on a bit of weight, then I find that offensive.
Oh dear, sorry. Honestly, I feel like I've put my foot in it so many times today. Louisa's not going to talk to me for 2 weeks.
Louisa is still glaring at me.
Yeah, she's now smiling that she's not going to talk to me for 2 weeks. Oh dear, no, but I genuinely do think it's brilliant, and I was always honoured to have, or we were honoured to have Louisa on the podcast as a main host guest, and then to have your good self on as well is fantastic, because I think the other thing as well is, just as humans, it doesn't matter, I think, if you're male or female, it's that sort of see it to be it type thing. When you see other
100%.
people that you can then relate to in those positions, you can then, it helps with that imposter syndrome, doesn't it? It's sort of, well, if they can do it, perhaps I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I think it's quite interesting is that we're even talking about this, because actually it should just be the norm that Charlotte and I are both in senior positions alongside our male counterparts.
Exactly.
That just should be how it is. So you made the point of, is it still a man's world? Then it must be, because otherwise we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Because we just take it as read that Charlotte and I were just here because we've got something to bring to the party, not because we were female.
Do you feel...
And that's not obviously why Charlotte is here.
Yeah,
so,
of course
that's
not.
because she has got something to bring to the party.
Do you feel it has changed? Or it is definitely, there's more, people will pass you in the office and go, yeah, well, that's Louisa, she's brilliant, she's etc. Or Charlotte is in her role. Do you think there is more acceptance and it has changed?
Yes, I would say it probably has, but I think it's just because we're known in the industry. We've worked with these people for a long time, so they know who we are, what we offer, what we bring, to the role. So I think it's just an acceptance because of the fact that we are and have been around for a while. Probably less so Charlotte, but being in her role for a period, but now becoming more well known in the industry, which is brilliant. So I think for me, I don't think anybody really looks at me as Louisa's a female in a senior position. I think because I've been around for a while, they'll just go, oh, it's Louisa. So I do think that I may be more widely accepted just because my face has been around for a long time and I'm that bit older, and I'm fairly comfortable in myself, which I also think is quite important. Still get the imposter syndrome and still think somebody's going to tap me on the shoulder and ask me to leave, but I'm comfortable in myself.
Okay, so Charlotte, sacrifices. What sacrifices have you made in your journey to get to where you are now?
Oh, that's a good question. What sacrifices? I don't know. I think sometimes family time can be a sacrifice. So although when I got this current role, I was really adamant that B had 1 year left before she was going to go to school. And I used to work condensed hours Monday to Thursday. And I was adamant that that's something I wasn't prepared to sacrifice. So I kept every Friday for me and her, because 12 months and it's gone, and then all of a sudden it'll be a blink of a heartbeat and she'll be, not wanting to talk to me at all. So I don't know about sacrifices. I think less about that and more about leaps of faith, where I've kind of just pulled the plug a bit sometimes and just had to be a bit brave. And therefore, probably more of moments of, oh God, have I done the right thing there? Or what's going to come as a result of that? I think one of the things, this is very, very early, but, I said I didn't go to university. I, straight out of school, went and got a role. That was probably some form of sacrifice in that I left home when I was 16. And so I was basically standing on my own 2 feet and having to make sure that I was looking after myself. And I think
that's a really brave and independent thing to do. And I know, I think being a bit older, I saw many people that did that. But I think as the generations go on, I joke, I think my son will be here till he's 40. But it's, it's a brave thing to do.
Yeah.
I agree. I can't comprehend. Can't comprehend my boy doing that. My boy's 16 in 3 months, and the comprehension of him moving away, living on his own, starting a job, it's never going to happen. I think that's a huge leap of faith.
Yeah, I would forbid it for my daughter.
Really?
I would absolutely.
It turned out okay though, didn't it?
So with that, listen, I don't want you to, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but was it something more you felt you had to do or you wanted to do?
Probably more I felt I had to do. I needed to get out of the house and but do you know what? Massive life lessons, and a different route into kind of work environment, and didn't necessarily. Well, I'd like to think it's not held me back in terms of what I've been able to do. I've managed to find my path, but it's not something I would necessarily wish for. Certainly for my daughter.
From a parent perspective, Charlotte. Can I start with, had you had a part-time job before then, or did you just go straight from education straight into work full-time?
So I had part-time jobs whilst I was working and doing my A-levels. I don't think I was the best person at doing my A-levels because it took me 3 years. I had to repeat 1 year. So I wasn't necessarily I was doing too much working and not enough studying. And then I went straight into full-time work after that. I had a full-time job and also a part-time job, but I remember going to somebody it was a mother, somebody's mother from school who said, I'll give you a job, but I really don't think this is what you want to do. She was, she gave me my first chance. She was right. She offered me a job. She let me work for a few weeks. And I said, I'm sorry, you're right. This isn't for me. And that's when I went to go and join home loan management. And I just it was so hard to get a job with no form of kind of evidence of anything on a CV that you're really good at, and it was just anything entry level, anything that'll give me a kind of a salary that'll cover the rent and some food. And that's, you just have to take what you can get, even though you're saying, please, take a chance on me. I'm going to try really hard. It's like, no, you just got the door shut everywhere.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
What advice would so stay at home.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
And even I would have stayed at home for a bit longer. Yeah, I would have done. Okay. I didn't. Yeah, I would have still worked, and I don't think I would have gone to university personally. So I wouldn't have necessarily said to do something different on that. But don't put that much pressure on myself to go and be Miss Independent because she thinks she knows better. And actually, I had a home to live in if I'd wanted to. I just didn't want to be in there. So, yeah. I think I would have told myself.
You clearly backed yourself. It seems so obvious, talking to you and getting to know you, that throughout your life, you have backed yourself.
Well, and other people have backed me. Backed me. I've worked hard. I've wanted to do a good job, and people have seen that and supported me. And therefore, you're always eternally grateful to anybody that's, giving you a chance and giving you a shot, or, been an advocate to say, push her forward. She'll do good for you. You've got to recognise those people and thank them. But yeah, and then I've backed myself in terms of giving it my best shot and thinking I'll put myself out there to try and do something that's outside my comfort zone. But yeah, it's definitely not all me.
So I've
got a lot to be thankful for.
You've had mentors. Yeah. So obviously working in mortgages has a good mentor scheme now. You've had mentors all the way through. Do you still have one now?
I don't know whether I'd say I've had mentors. I'd call them more sponsors than kind of formal mentoring. Yeah. I've had a coach who's has been fantastic for me. A lady called Vicky. She's absolutely brilliant.
And you would advocate using a coach, yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just everyone, I'm a coach. Just saying.
There you go. Paul and Vicky are both fantastic. Absolutely. Anybody that can, I just think mentorship or some form of sponsorship to be able to, celebrate successes on your behalf and talk about you to help you with your career. No brainer. And whether or not that's really formalized in terms of a kind of a mentoring relationship, or whether or not actually it's less formal, but you're trying to spot talent, we'll do it, won't we? You think you can see somebody talented that needs a break. It's like, how can you create that route for them and help them?
But also when you're in a position of authority, it doesn't matter if you've got your own business or you're senior management, it can be very lonely. It's a cliche, but it's true.
It is. Yeah.
And when the buck stops with you, it's like, who can I bounce this off, or who can I review this with and reflect on this with, and having that other voice, and especially if they're an experienced person as well, can be exponentially helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Last question really for me is, do you remember a moment when you realised that you loved your job, and when was the last time you hated your job?
When did I hate my job? I mean, I do love my job. I find it hard sometimes. I don't know whether I'd use the word hate, but there's a bit of dislike when it's Friday and the risk packs have come through, or the exco packs have come through, and there's 300 pages of reading. They're interesting moments. I don't know whether I've ever really. I can't know. Hate's a very strong word. I don't know if I've ever hated my job. I think when I've loved my job, and this was, I got emotional actually, is after we'd launched it. I mean, there's loads of stuff I've loved about my job. There's been loads of experiences that have been fantastic. But when we launched the track record mortgage, our first customer that we did an offer on and was going to complete was a single mum who was saving £400 a month versus her rent on her mortgage payments. And I remember, it's not usually like me, but I was sat in the office, and Jenna Corvin, who's a fantastic person, no one ever poach her, please, because she's amazing, she'd been working on the project with me, and she came and said, just so you know, like popped her head above one of the seats and said, we've had our first offer, and she gave me the details, and I welled up and nearly burst into tears. I just thought, yeah, all right, there's loads of other things, but that's what we do it for. Yeah, exactly. That's what we do it for, to really help people.
Charlotte Harrison, it's been brilliant. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
You were fantastic. Thank you.